currently the WWE is coming off of its Royal Rumble pay-per-view. We are, I believe, 2, maybe 3 weeks away from the Fastlane pay-per-view, where the main event will be a triple threat match for the number one contendership to go on to take on champion Triple H at WrestleMania, and that match will be between Brock Lesnar, Dean Ambrose, and Roman Reigns. Now, a lot of people are excited about this match because, Dean has a big following, he's very popular. Brock has a big following, he's very popular. And Roman, it depends on who you ask if he has a big following and is popular or not. But he's, the biggest young star that they're pushing right now by far, especially with Seth Rollins being out. But so, there's a lot of people, everybody's got someone to cheer for, but where I have a problem with it is being a grown and or intelligent wrestling fan. Why would the authority, who, is putting the three people in this match for this opportunity, why would they choose all three people who they don't want Triple H to face, they don't like, they try to screw over, and they don't want to have a title opportunity? It makes no sense. Why isn't there at least one bad guy to spoil things for the good guys in here? I mean, we know he won't win, but it at least makes sense from the storytelling standpoint. So I'm really not impressed at all with the main event. All of us who have been watching know exactly what's going to happen. The Wyatt family is going to come out and cost Brock the match, otherwise Brock would win it. Roman's going to end up winning it. The shocker here, where they could really shock people, is to have Dean Ambrose win it, and then have Roman turn heel, and do something there, and find a way then to have Roman versus Dean at WrestleMania, get the number one contendership away from Dean somehow, because anything other, if we get what it's looking like almost certainly is Roman versus Triple H at WrestleMania, and that's just awful. That's not a main event, period. You need The Rock versus Triple H, maybe Brock versus Triple H, Taker even, although we've seen that 3 times. Like, any of these would be bigger draws and better for the company than Roman versus Triple H. If you wanted to have Roman at WrestleMania versus Triple H, you should have not had Triple H in the Royal Rumble, and you should have kept the belt on Roman Reigns after the Rumble, having him win it, and then leaving Triple H desperate, coming out saying none of you guys could were up to the challenge and get the belt off of Roman. I guess I have to go to WrestleMania and do it myself. That's good, believable writing, which is something WWE never ever does. But so for right now, we're stuck with a bunch of really ugly looking WrestleMania matchups for the most part, although nothing's been finalized, and they do have time to right the ship before we get to WrestleMania in the first week of April. My other main wrestling focus, much more so than WWE now, is on something called Lucha Underground. Now, if you are a wrestling fan, you need to watch Lucha Underground. If you're not, if you have never been a wrestling fan and are willing to give it a try, the only thing you should watch is an hour of Lucha Underground. It's freaking amazing. Last night was the second episode of Season 2. It was another great episode. As always, it is on 7 o'clock Central Standard Time is when the new episodes air each week on the El Rey Network, channel 253 if you are a Dish Network subscriber, as I am. But it is by far the best wrestling on TV ever. And if you're not watching it, you are missing out. Tune in. Again, El Rey Network, Lucha Underground, Wednesday nights. New episodes debut at 7 o'clock. It's on the whole rest of the night, old episodes, and the new episode rerun. And you got to check it out. It's amazing. Now, I do have one final quick, glorious, legendary wrestling-related story to share with you. And it brings us back to the world of Twitter. As you recall from the beginning of the show, if you've stayed with us that whole time and are still listening, first off, thank you so much. But you remember that I had a Twitter-related victory, if you will, or moment, a highlight of my Twitter life so far happened this Monday night after I was watching Raw. I love to tweet while I'm watching Monday Night Raw with the rest of the WWE Universe, and I love to follow a couple specific people who live tweet as well. Lance Storm's pretty good. There's a couple of them, but the absolute best and my absolute favorite is a guy that you all know and remember by the name of Psycho Sid, or Sid Justice, or Sid Vicious. Not the guy from the Sex Pistols, the super big blonde wrestler, Psycho Sid. Well, he is one of the best Twitter tweeters in the world. He's got over 200,000 followers, and he follows 0 people on Twitter. There is not one person in the world that he follows on Twitter. It is only people following him. He has over 200,000. And again, you probably remember Psycho Sid, the big blonde dude, did some acting stuff, I want to say, too. Fairly well known. Well, here's my story / moment to share with you that just made me all rainbows and sunshine. So, after Raw concluded, I was going through Twitter and seeing who was still tweeting and what they were saying, and I was reading Sid's tweets, and I decided to send Psycho Sid, Sid Vicious, Sid Justice, a tweet of my own. And I will read this tweet to you as a special preview and enticing way of, getting you to follow me on Twitter at BDST Show. So I'm tweeting Sid Justice, and I tweet him. I said, at Psycho Vicious, are we sure that WWE creative is even a real thing, or is it just urban myth? And lo and behold, within 5 minutes, the man himself, the master and ruler of the world, Psycho Sid, tweeted to me at BDST Show, I'd go with urban legend. Bam! Are you kidding me? How awesome is that? Yeah! I made a negative, pessimistic joke at the expense of WWE and one of the most famous wrestlers of all time. Well, at least, top 50 probably famous wrestlers of all time completely agreed with me and shouted it out back at me. How freaking awesome. So, again, if you follow me on Twitter at BDST Show, you've got access to gold like this every day of the week for the rest of your life, and it's all free. You can't beat it. Or if Facebook is more your thing, I'm not quite as fun and exciting on there, but I still participate quite a bit, and you can like and friend me by simply searching Scotty Ball, and you'll see the Balls Deep Sports Talk logo. We did it. We made it to the end of the show, if you can believe that or not. So let us waste no more time. Let us dilly-dally no longer. Let us rid ourselves of the tomfoolery and dive into our closing segment of every show that we call Balls Deep Thought of the Day. Now, usually I'm just kind of scrambling to come up with something here at the end of the show for Balls Deep Thought of the Day. But this week, I actually had what I believe is going to be my favorite so far of the 50 previous ones that we've done here on the show each week. It was a little bit of personal epiphany and enlightenment going on, sports-related in my head earlier this week, that I thought, man, that would make a perfect Balls Deep Thought of the Day to share with everyone. So I'm going to lay it on you. And like I said, I think this is one of the most genuine Balls Deep Thought of the Days that we've had. So strap yourself in and get ready to think and look at yourself, and we'll go from there. All right, so here is the Balls Deep Thought of the Day. Has there ever been an athlete, a professional sports figure, that you were a fan of, a big, genuine, you're a fan of this person, but you were not supposed to be, for whatever reason? A prime example that I will give here, just to get the conversation going and get us all on the same page. Say you are a lifelong, diehard Green Bay Packers fan. But being so, you have got to watch the likes of Walter Payton and the likes of Barry Sanders and the likes of Randy Moss and Chris Carter and Adrian Peterson and all these other great division players. You get to watch them all the time, and you're supposed to hate that team and you're supposed to hate that player. But even though you are a green and gold bleeding cheesehead Packer fanatic, you are a fan of Adrian Peterson? Like, you think he's the best running back you've ever seen? You like him as a well? Okay, let's not use Adrian Peterson as an example. Let's say Walter Payton. Walter Payton, a guy everybody can, admire and respect, and Hall of Fame career, one of the best of all time. Even though you hate the Bears because you're a Packer fanatic, you're a cheesehead. You're a Walter Payton fan. You love Walter Payton, even though you're not supposed to. Have you ever had, think long and hard, is there currently now, or have you ever had throughout your life, an athlete that you were a big fan of that you weren't supposed to be? Now, that is the balls deep thought of the day, because this is what inspired it for me, okay? So tomorrow is Friday at my day job, obviously, before Super Bowl Sunday. So in some festive spirit, I kind of wanted to show off my football fan side of me and wear a football jersey to work tomorrow. That being said, I didn't necessarily want to just go with my Vikings jersey because I have multiple jerseys, and thought, the Vikes aren't playing, and this is an opportunity to, wear a jersey that's not a Vikings jersey for once. Usually, if I have the opportunity to wear a jersey, it's got to be a Vikings jersey. So I was thinking about it, and I decided that, I'm going to dig out my old, hopefully still fits me, Emmitt Smith jersey. Now, that's what brought this up for me. Living in Minnesota, being a Vikings fan, you're supposed to hate the Cowboys. There are a couple teams you're supposed to hate. You're supposed to hate the Cowboys, you're supposed to hate the Packers, you're supposed to hate the Bears. So, growing up as a kid, through the 80s and 90s, being in Minnesota, one of my favorite players of all time, especially at that time, was Emmitt Smith, running back of the Dallas Cowboys. I didn't like the Dallas Cowboys as a team, but there was something about Emmitt Smith. He was so productive and good on the field, and he was such a class act, both on and off the field. His character, his personality, just everything about him I found extremely likable. And so I was a big fan of his, even though I was supposed to hate the team he was on and root for him to not succeed because of where I live and who my favorite team is. So, knowing that that's the way it was, I started thinking about, well, why did I like this guy? Like, everybody tried to discourage me from liking this guy, and I liked him anyway, and I supported him anyway. And I'm just a young, fairly weak-willed kid at the time as well. Like, I wasn't the, stubborn, stern prick that I've grown into today by a long shot. But so that got me to thinking, why? Why did I stand by him? Why did I like him in the first place? Why didn't I, stop being a fan when other people around me tried to make it hard, or feel bad for being his fan? And the more I thought about it, I actually figured it out. I think I realized it. My first sports hero, the guy who I was the biggest fan of anyone, was the one and only Mr. Kirby Puckett of the Minnesota Twins. What would you describe Mr. Puckett to be like as a pro athlete, as a baseball player? Well, he's undersized. He doesn't have a lot of strength. He doesn't have a lot of speed or athleticism. His skill is good, but not great. But his heart is incredible. His class is immeasurable. And this guy will overachieve and come through when you need him most every time. And you can count on him and you can rely on him. He's going to be a good guy, and he is going to succeed on many occasions. And when he does, you can be proud of it and feel that it's well-deserved, let alone entertaining. And it was realizing all these similarities that Emmitt Smith possessed as a running back in the NFL with Kirby Puckett as a center fielder in Major League Baseball that the light bulb went off, and I went, that's it. That's why I always liked and was a fan of Emmitt Smith, because he subconsciously reminded me of everything that I loved about my favorite athlete of all time, Mr. Kirby Puckett. And that had never occurred to me before. I had never been able to look at it or think of it that way. And so now I have clarity and understanding of myself. Even if it's something that's, might be trivial and seemingly pointless. So I wanted to offer that opportunity to everyone else as well. Do you have a favorite athlete now or in your past that you were supposed to hate? Who was it and why?